Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Fashion Your Passion podcast. This week, I'm coming at you all solo episode here from my home in LA. Super excited about this week's episode because we're talking all about boundaries, whether it's relationship boundaries, work boundaries, school boundaries, whatever it is. We're going to be talking about it this week. So let's get into the episode. So, I really want to talk about boundaries because I think that it's a very important thing that I've learned over my years of going to school and working and, sort of having a social life and doing it all at the same time. And so, for me, the biggest piece that I've learned is like you need to have set times for certain things. So, if you sort of take a look at a few, I know all my posts are archived now, but I made a post a little while ago showing you guys my Google Calendar and how certain sections are sort of just like they're for certain things and the whole calendar is color coded, and that was because I only have certain times for certain things. I try my best to only work from 7 to 3, so 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's sort of my 8-hour mark. And that's what I try my best to do, just because I don't want to get into the habit of working all the time because I work for myself and because I have asynchronous classes, which means that my classes don't sort of happen on a regular schedule. I can sort of set my schedule for school and for work. And so I can really work whenever I want to. So I try my best to keep myself in that 9 to 5 setting while also being lenient with myself. Because say I can go out to lunch at noon for 2 hours, and then come back and work for another 2 hours, and maybe I'll work till 5 that day. And I think that, setting boundaries for work and setting boundaries for school and just tasks and assignments are much easier than relationships. But I think they're both super important. So I want to first touch I've touched on it before with a lot of the time management pieces that we've talked about on this podcast before. And so I'm going to touch on that just really quickly, and then we'll move on to sort of the relationships and the friendships and those boundaries. So for like tasks and school and work boundaries, again, like I said, like I have a cutoff for the day. I start my day most days at 7 a.m. I come back from Dunkin' at 7. I'm ready to go and I sit down and I work. And then obviously I'll have my lunch hour, which is usually from 12 to 1. And then I'll start working again at 1 o'clock, and then I'll work until 3 o'clock, and then my work day will be done. And then at 3 o'clock, I can go run errands, or I can go hang out with friends, or FaceTime someone, whatever I decide to do. And then usually on some days, what I like to do is I'll chunk that up even more. So my current school schedule looks like I have class on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9:30 to 10:45, and then I have one class at 2 on Tuesdays, one class out on 1 on Wednesdays, and then the rest are asynchronous, which means, again, like I said before, that they happen whenever I choose for them to happen. So basically, they just add a lecture and a quiz every single week, and then I get to decide when I want to do that lecture and that quiz. So what I personally like to do is I don't have any classes on Mondays. So Mondays is my errand day. Mondays is my day to really just set myself up for the week. So I go grocery shopping and I will go to Target and grab some stuff. I will come back, I'll meal prep, I'll clean my room. I go to yoga class Monday morning as well. And then that's sort of my day to breathe for a second, not focus on a lot of work. Obviously, I'll answer some emails and some text messages, but not focus on a lot of work and just sort of mentally check out from that workspace. And then Tuesdays is sort of my day where I hunker down and I say, okay, ready to go. Let's do this thing. Because I'll wake up 7, answer emails, answer text messages, do the little things that I have to do for the week. And then I'll go to class at 9:30. Then at 11, I'll start doing my asynchronous lectures and some of my internship work. And then at 2 o'clock, I have another class. And then until 3 or 4, usually, I'll finish up those lectures, and then I'll have dinner at 5:30. And then after that, I'll FaceTime my family or some of my friends in New York. and that will be my day, and I'll be in bed by 8, 9, just watching TV or watching YouTube videos. And then the rest of the week sort of looks similar, where I will have half the time to work and half the time to do whatever I need to do. Obviously, you guys know that sometimes we just have to run errands in the middle of the week, and so sometimes I will do that too, depending on what's happening. So like Wednesday afternoons, like so maybe after class, I'll run an errand or two, just depending on what exactly I have to do for the week. And that's really how I set boundaries between work and school, or work and social life and relaxation. I think the one thing that I'm learning during quarantine and during really this time of, sort of isolation from a lot of the normal things, a lot of the walking to class every day, a lot of the, hanging out with my friends more and more. What I'm learning in that piece is that there's a lot more room for self-care. So sometimes, before classes on Wednesday, I remember I have a 1:00 class. I'll go down to the marina, or I'll go down to some of the other towns on the water in San Diego, and I'll just drive down there, and I'll just drive around for, half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever I have time for. And that's what I'll do as sort of my self-care, my relaxation, because I love to drive. I love to drive to LA. I love to drive from San Diego to LA. I love to drive around LA, around San Diego. I love to drive in New York. I just love to drive, and it just gives me a sense of like relaxation. I could listen to a podcast, throw in some of my favorite songs, just the whole ordeal. And it's so, so, so wonderful to have that moment for myself. And I think that for me, that's a big thing for my self-care, is just getting out, driving, breathing in that fresh air, breathing in the air on the water. But also I go out with my friends to dinner a lot. So every other week we have a team dinner for one of my internships, and that's sort of my favorite dinner of the week. And then my best friend and I we'll plan when we're meeting up for dinner, because we both have really busy schedules, and so that will be another piece that we plan as well. And then also sometimes I will schedule in coffee dates or lunches or even brunches with some of my friends who I haven't seen in a while, because I'm still trying to catch up with everyone in San Diego who I haven't seen since March, excuse me. And so that's sort of thing I do. And really, I think the biggest piece, it really sounds kind of dumb in a sense, but the biggest piece that I do in terms of, now we're going to sort of switch over to the friendship piece, is right now, because a lot of my friends aren't back in San Diego, is I will make a list of everyone who's back in San Diego who I want to, catch up with, who I want to catch up with on a consistent basis, and also who I just want to catch up with and, sort of just like know that they are there and alive, and they're well and good. And so I'll make that list, and then I text everyone, be like, hey, like, let's meet up, or hey, let's FaceTime here and there. And then I will pretty much schedule it into my calendar, because a lot of my friends also are so busy that it's just easier for both of us to do so. And so we'll schedule in our calendar and we'll meet up. And then usually when we meet up, we'll schedule sort of the second time or the third time we're going to meet up too, just so that we have in the calendar and we don't sort of forget about it and stuff like that. And I think for me, my biggest thing is like, find the time on the least busiest day of the week to connect with your friends, because connecting with your friends, connecting with acquaintances, connecting with mentors, connecting with peers is hands down the most important thing you could do to support your own well-being. It helps your grades, it helps your mental health, it helps just everything that you sort of embody and encapsulate. And it's so important to remember to do those things. I think for me, I easily do a lot of work, and I easily get stuck in this work loop of like, I need to work all the time every day, and then I get burnt out, and then I'm sort of sitting in my bed for 5 days in a row, and I don't know what to do with myself. And so I think that the biggest thing is, remember to schedule in those dates, those coffee dates, those lunch dates, those dinner dates, whatever it is. Also, because it is so easy to forget, it is so easy to get caught up in that loop of, oh my God, like, I need to work. I have so much work to do. I can't go out. And it's like, the work is going to always be there, but sometimes your friends' schedules won't match up with yours. And this is the only opportunity you have for that. And you need to take it when it comes up, because sometimes it won't be there. And to not to get morbid or anything, but life is too short to say, no, I can't meet up with you because I have work to do. Obviously, if you're studying for a huge test, like, yes, one day is fine to say that, but if it happens every time, like, that's not really what's going to go on. And you have to make sure you have your priorities straight. Because that's another thing that leads into boundaries is when you have boundaries and when you set good boundaries, it really resonates with what your priorities are. And so if you don't have sort of any priorities other than school or work, you're always going to be working, you're always going to be doing school, and you're never going to know when to stop. And if you know, like, hey, okay, so school's really important to me, my work is really important to me, but also my family and friends are really important to me. So let me schedule in that time. And scheduling in time, I know it sounds really stupid, but honestly, it's been my saving grace for a very, very long time. And sometimes you just need to schedule it in, that way you remember to do it. But as you get used to it and as you sort of know, like, okay, like today's Thursday, I'm going to have a class and then I'm going to go to lunch with so and so. Then you don't have to schedule it anymore because you just know, and you and your friend both know that's what's going to happen. But when you first start out, you should schedule it in. That way it's easier for you to remember and easier for you to really force yourself pretty much to commit that time to going out with a friend or just to doing something for yourself, honestly. And what comes with that is, like, you don't have to, every meal or every coffee you get doesn't have to be with a friend. I think I've learned that too, is like, there are some times where you can run errands by yourself and that's okay. Sometimes you just want to run errands by yourself when you want to drive by yourself for a half an hour on a Sunday and just have that moment for you to take care of yourself. And that's okay too. It doesn't have to be that every little thing you do has to be with someone, because that's self-care. Sometimes self-care is by yourself. Sometimes it's just journaling by yourself. Sometimes it's literally just sitting down in your bed and just like sitting in the quiet for 5 minutes by yourself. But sometimes it is grabbing Chinese with a friend, or sometimes it is, having a movie night with your friends, or inviting someone over to watch the Bachelorette with you. It all depends on how you're feeling that week, how you're feeling that day. And for you to be able to be strong enough to say, hey, sorry, I can't meet with you for dinner tonight because I'm emotionally exhausted, or I'm physically exhausted, or, I want to spend the night with myself tonight, or whatever it is. It takes so much power to do that. And you should be so proud of yourself that you do that. And also you should be super proud of yourself when you say, yes, I can go out with you because this work can wait, and this work, it will be there tomorrow for me to do when I wake up in the morning, and it's not due until Friday, and I could do it on a Thursday. And it takes so much power in you to do that. And you really have to reward yourself every time you sort of set a new boundary and say, hey, like, I am not going to engage in this certain thing, in this certain activity, because it doesn't help my well-being. And that's another thing. It's like, obviously don't do everything people tell you to do. Don't do everything that you think is sort of, going to be good for you, because sometimes if you have that gut feeling where you don't think it's going to be good for you, then it's probably not going to be good for you, and you're probably not going to feel good doing it. And so the biggest thing that you should do is really just evaluate what you're doing in your life currently, what makes you feel good, and then continue with the things that make you feel good, and take out the things that don't make you feel good, piece by piece, because that is the biggest piece of it. Is if you're doing something that you hate to do every single day, you're not going to do it, and you're going to be miserable for the rest of your day. Like, say exercising, for example, like, do an exercise that makes you feel good. I know some people love weightlifting, some people love taking a walk, some people love doing yoga, some people love doing Pilates. It's all relative to who you are, what your values are, and really what your core feels like doing, what your gut feels like doing, what your soul feels like doing. And that pertains to every little piece of your life, from exercising to eating dinner with a friend, to hanging out with a friend, to even like being friends with a person. It's like, if you don't feel good about this relationship that's happening, then don't follow through with it. don't say, don't be like, hey, like, we're just not compatible in the way that, that serves my own energy. And that's totally fine, because not every person is going to like be compatible with you, and you're not going to be compatible with every person. That's life. That's what happens. There's a reason that certain people are our friends and certain people aren't our friends. And I think at the end of the day, the biggest lesson you can learn from this podcast episode is just to realize that you have to do the things that you want to do, and you have to do the things that make you feel good, because that's what boundaries are for. They're for you to curate your life the way you wish to curate it. They're there for you to make yourself feel the greatest that you can feel in your life. And so if you were able to set aside certain times to do schoolwork, set aside certain times to hang out with your friends, and really just practice saying the word no over and over again for your own mental health and your own mental sanity, you are going to succeed and you are going to be a rock star. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast episode. Please follow me at Fashion Your Passion Podcast and at Sammi Beatrice for more inspirational, motivational content every single day. Thank you guys again so much. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. And I will talk to you guys next week with an amazing guest. Bye.